Okay, I'm going to give the introduction because Mark is not here with us today because he's out living life in recovery or something. Welcome to our series, Life in Recovery, where we talk about everything and anything because life, when you're in recovery, has everything to do with recovery. I'm Elyse. Hi. And our guest today is,
Arianna, hello.
and we were thinking we would talk a little bit about maybe romance and finance. Ew. Yeah. So how is your recovery journey been going so far?
Mm, my recovery journey so far. It's been exactly a year since I came in to recovery. It was a little over. I came in February of last year with a friend who's no longer in the program. Um, and I think even though I've struggled with like maintaining my first clean date, I still can feel like the difference of like day one versus like today. Because today I have 17 days clean. Yeah.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah, 17 days clean, coming back from a relapse of having 8 months. Um, and it was interesting. I was thinking about this today where I was in the car and I was driving and I was like, man, I was having a hard time the other day because I was like putting myself down a lot about like the relapse and like looking around at like all the people that I surround myself with and I see them as like, they say surround yourself with the winners. And I'm like, damn, I'm with the winners, but I'm losing. Like I'm like, something's happening here. But I think it like highlighted the fact that I was like, all right, like even though I like put myself in the middle and like I have like my commitments and I go to meetings regularly and I'm doing my step work. I think it I understand what people say when they say like it has to be like genuine, like genuinely come from like your heart. Like it doesn't matter what you're getting from like the outside in the program if it's not like something that like you really want like inside of you. And I think it's like forcing me to look at like, okay, I don't like how it feels to relapse and come back. So then like what am I gonna do to change the way that I feel like inside to like counter that? I don't know. But that's like intense to me because I'm like, I don't know how to do that. It's a lot of like you've said before too, like different levels of surrendering.
Hmm.
And I think it's like another level of surrender. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I like what you're saying about like it coming from your heart, like because relapse or no, I think it takes a while for things to come from our hearts. Because yeah, we can like for me, I can say like, oh, I'm not so great at this. I might need a little help. But then like something happens and I'm like, okay, I need a lot of help. And then something else happens and I'm like, please help me. And that is from my heart, like that, like,
Mm-hmm.
well, they talk about desperation, but like, I feel like when you're really like it, there's a deeper and deeper feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and I get that too. And there's like more and more things to surrender to. Like we were talking about like romance and finance. Like I don't think it matters where you're at in your recovery journey. There's always like issues in different areas, that like do require some sort of surrender or we come up against some sort of obstacle and it's like, oh, more needs to be done here. For sure. Um, yeah, what do you feel like maybe changed in your heart, or did you notice like a shift in some way?
Mm, I think um I think the not feeling like a big shift is what like scares me. Cause I think like I expect to like I hear a lot of people share in meetings the I had like a spiritual awakening or I finally felt like the gift of desperation. And then, but I also hear the people like it wasn't that like crazy for me. Like it was like just one day I said, okay, I'm done and like that's it. And it wasn't some crazy like spiritual awakening. And I think like I'm trying to accept the fact that for me it's probably that. Like I don't think it's gonna be some like big, grand, like my higher power striked my heart. Like a lightning bolt and like I understood. Um I think for me it's more of like a no, I have to like consciously uh every day, like the just for today, right? Like be like, okay, I don't have that, but I also know that I don't want my past life. So I have to then make the decision of like, even if you don't feel like some crazy like higher power connection, like you're trying to get that, um, for today, it's okay to feel like that. And it's okay to not feel something like totally immense, but just know that you're tired of like the relapses and you're tired of um feeling like you're working towards a goal and then like you get closer to the goal and you throw it away. Like I remember somebody in recovery told me like Ariana, you're afraid of success. You're so afraid of success and like you need to like squash that shit. Like you gotta get rid of that. Like learn to like empower yourself and like love yourself and like I think that's when you're gonna shine. And it like sticks with me because it's like the moment I'm about to like hit a milestone, immediately my head is like, nope, this is too much. Like, how can we squash it? And like I spiral. So I think for me it's like, okay, it's not like a big change of heart, but I'm also starting to notice my patterns and feel more like calmer about it. Like it doesn't feel as crazy intense. So maybe that's like the gift. The like I don't feel as chaotic when those times are coming now. Like I'm like learning to just like breathe. Be like, okay, it doesn't have to be like some crazy situation. Like you're gonna be fine. I don't know. It's just like slowing my thoughts. I feel like a lot of it is just like slowing my brain down. Hmm.
Yeah. And I think like I agree. I I think for many people like spiritual awakening is all it's I think it's more of maybe like a volume knob rather
Hmm.
than like a curtain opening or a whole new scene. It's more like there's a little more of this or there's a little bit less of this. Um, and whether that's like I'm feeling more desperate for something new or even if that's just like I'm more sick and tired of what is old. I feel like almost like and this is true for me for like any behaviors. There's kind of like these little scales in my head, of like this one starts, if it's kind of like, that's kind of bad, but it's not that bad. And I have some other competing goal over here, like vaping is one for me. One is like, it's really not healthy and it's not who I want to be. And then like um, over here, it's kind of like, well, it's not really like getting in the way too much of like other things. So, but once something becomes like really heavy, and maybe that's what I hate about vaping is because it's like, I think with nicotine, it takes a long time to have like really detrimental effects in your
Hmm.
life.
You
And
don't see
then
it right away.
gotten to that point, it's like you're already fucked. you know, and I'm sure I'll have another layer of my spirit awakening more to new changes and that I have faith that that's one thing that's on the horizon. Because for me, it's been the romance layer has been the current manifestation of like, um, you know, the scales of like, oh, this isn't so bad, got really, really bad, where like it affected all my other goals,
Hmm.
you know. But it took me, like really 6 years to take that totally seriously and surrender and being like, I literally have no control over this at all. Um, but I think it's really normal for us to like cling to other things. And maybe that's just because like it's almost like I feel like it's hard to implement so many changes in life at one time. And maybe that is kind
Yeah.
of like the spiritual awakening in layers. It's like I really could only handle so much awakening of my spirit, so much change in like that year of my life.
Hmm.
That's really all I could mm, like wrap my head around or like take on.
Yeah. I feel like that's what happened to me recently with like school and taking all the classes and then having all the commitments. And it's like, I was like, okay, I got this. And then I put everything on my schedule and it was crazy and it was overwhelming. And I spiraled downhill and I ended up relapsing and like having a mental breakdown. And then it's like you come back and you're like, okay, that didn't work. Too many changes at once. And like, but it's cool because it's like at this point now, like that happened, and yeah, it sucks that that's what it led to. But I'm also grateful that like now going into like this semester, I was able to be like, okay, I know this did not work. Like I need a day to myself, like no classes on this day. I'm gonna take a class on Tuesday and Thursday, and then I have my Monday, Wednesday free. And like I will not add anything to those Mondays and Wednesdays because if I do, that sends me like over the edge. I'm like, all right, now I know like my limits where I'm like, nope, like it does not matter what that is. Like if I don't have like one day off, I will go crazy. But I didn't want to like see that before. So I'm like, now I see it and I see what it led to. So I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like I acknowledge that that's a part of my limitations, which is cool.
Yeah, the part like as addicts, we learn things the hard way, but then like when we learn them, we really, really learn them.
We like dived all the way. Yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, like that and then when we learn, I think that's another little awakening of us of our spirits is like, oh, that's what that is. And then the awareness is like the awakening. It's like, um, so then you're like you're on your journey and you're like you take a little like notch in a different direction and like it's like making like a million changes at once would be like going along the journey and then like
Yeah.
like that would be really intense. Like I might lose my mind, but I can handle like the little awakenings of like, ooh, no, no, no. Not let's shift that. Okay, that's better. Now what if we change this? Oh, no, no, not that. It's just like this. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting though, because like how I was saying like the school thing, I can see it like that in like a school environment and like classes, but I struggle with learning in the same way when it comes to like the romance. Like that's what I think is interesting, that in school I'll mess up and I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Like we're never doing that again and we're gonna do this. But in romance, I'm like, okay, that didn't work. What if we try it with a different person? Maybe it'll work with them. What if we like, like I feel like I tweak it more to how I like want it to work.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if maybe that's because like the like school was the change. like that was the big change. And like then you're venturing into like another level. Like instead of like I'm gonna have to change something in all of these areas,
Mm,
'cause and I think also like maybe it has a lot to do with like what is at the core of these things. I think like at the core of romantic relationships is like love or connection or comfort. Like
mm,
those are really like basic human like how are you gonna let go of love? You know what I mean? It's like it's not something you can just like let go of. You have to navigate. And like as addicts, we're really not good at like things that are done like in um like medium. We're here, or we're there.
yeah.
When it like eating too, when people are like when they come into recovery and they're like, oh yeah, I put down the spoon and picked up the fork. Like it's another thing, like you can't just not eat ever again.
The extremes. It's silly. I was talking to my friend and she was like, I'm gonna start reading this year. She was like, I'm gonna read at least like 32 books this year. I was like, what? I was like, okay, why don't you just start off with like one book a month? Like, why don't you do like 12 books a year? You're like, why did you immediately jump to like 32? Like, that's a wild number. She's like, I was like, is this what they mean by like addict brain? Like it's like immediately had to go to like the highest number possible and like instead of just being like, all right, I'll set like an attainable goal. It's like, girl, what are you doing?
Yeah. No, that's like a book a week.
Yeah,
Almost.
what? Going from reading
Wow.
like one book every like 2, 3 months to like a book a week
You just like read children's books so you can say you accomplished your
to meet
goal.
the
Like
quota.
10. I learned so much this year about Jill and Jane.
No.
Yeah, for sure. And what else is, yeah. Well, I feel like you did that with school. Like you were like, okay, let's find the medium. But also school is like, what would be like the core need of school? I guess like feeling
Mine is
maybe
like
like,
security.
okay.
Just like I know if I get my degree, like I believe in the like everyone or not everyone, but like most people should like have a degree to get like a stable job. I know now there's a lot more opportunities where like you don't need that, but I think like I'm not trying to go down a path where like I don't feel that security. So for me, like getting that it's like, okay, if you have this, like someone will take you and you'll end up somewhere, you know? Because like I want to do like bio. So it's like if I get like my bio degree, even if I don't end up like being like a physician's assistant or something, I know I can end up in like a bio lab or like uh like work in laboratories, even if it's like lower level, like I know I'll find my place with that. And I need that degree for that. So I'm like, okay, that sets me off at like a wage that I can live off of. Like I want that security. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Security for as far as like romance today, does that have anything to do with security?
Mm, I feel like before I would have said yes. I think today I'm more confused about myself in the romance aspect because I think for the first time I'm like enjoying not having to like report myself to someone. Does that make sense? Like I'm finally understanding like, oh, okay, I'm 21. I'm trying to like do school and I'm trying to like get my life back on track. And as soon as I like it's all or nothing. So I'm like, okay, there's actually no security for me when I'm in a relationship right now because it actually throws away my whole life plan out the window. Like I was talking about that today with my friend at school. Um, and I was like, I think this is really good that like I'm single and in school. Like I can feel how much attention actually goes to like my classes now and my work. I was like, this is good. Like I should have listened to what they said before. I probably would have been doing better like in past semesters. So I don't think the relationship or the romance part for me is like not security. I think it's more the like I don't have as much like adventure as I would have before of like going out and partying and being with like different people every night and like the flirting and like you're because you're meeting so many people when you're out there, you know? Like
Hmm.
at least for me when I was using it, it was pretty social. It was very social and very like art shows and everything. So I think now it's like I don't really get that part of me fed. The like action, like adventure, like little giddy feelings. Um,
Hmm.
I think that's more of where it comes from. Like I don't want a relationship, but I want the like exciting feeling that comes from like the pre part of it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting too, that you said like security maybe in the past, but it's like you're getting your security need like met with school now. So
Mhm.
it's like that needs being met, but then like you're saying like another need isn't being met, which is like another aspect of relationships of like just the dating
Mhm.
kind of experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that's why too I've been more like active. I think because I've noticed that. That's why I'm like looking for someone to like talk to and like get those feelings. I think which is why I've been more recently like I want to find more like LGBTQ places where I can like go and hang out because I think that same feeling of meeting new friends and meeting new people and being in new spaces and like that like nervousness of like I don't know what to expect. I think it fills the same hole. So I'm like, if I'm like meeting all these different queer people, I can focus my energy on that and probably build like cool friendships instead of like being stuck in the cycle of like talking to somebody new, flirting, and then being like, oh, I don't actually want this. Bye. Talking to somebody new, flirting, and then it's like just burning connections, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, but it's the ripping the bandage off. Like tonight at 7:30, there's a queer basketball. Right? So
Hmm.
people will meet up at a park and they just play basketball and then they'll like go out and like eat after and stuff like that. And it's just ripping the bandage of like, okay, Ariana, like get up and go. Like I know you're nervous, but just go do it. Like I'm scared.
Yeah. Is there a difference between like the nervousness of that versus like a first date?
Mm, I don't think there's a difference in the feeling. I think the difference is like with these spaces, nobody's expecting me. Like I haven't set like a commitment. So it's like if I don't go, like nobody knows. But like with a date, it's like you're already talking, you're pre-planning, it's like you're expect there. So it's kind of like forces you to go. And if you don't go, it's like you're kind of messed up. Like, you know?
Hmm.
But I think that's the main difference. But I've tried to counteract that. So there's like a queer BIPOC, the organization and the one that I said that has like the sexy and sober nights that they're starting.
Hmm.
They're doing like a queer BIPOC art um like workshop for screen printing and for their organizations and for their events you have to register. You have to pre-register like RSVP. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna RSVP, I'm gonna go to one and this is gonna be like my, you know? So I did that. I have it RSVP'd. I think it's next week. So I'm like, you're gonna go. Like you took somebody's spot, you know? That's messed up. Like you can't just like not go and like, that's somebody that would have gone and enjoyed it. So I think I'm doing more of that. Like it's like cool. It's like, okay, you committed to it. Think of it as like a commitment. You have to show up even if you don't feel like going. So I'm hoping that'll help me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love that, like getting my needs met elsewhere. Because I do feel like sometimes, like when we want to stop a behavior, like, but we're not like we're just focusing on stopping it. It's like there's just like an emptiness.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
doesn't work.
it's there's got to be like a replacement.
Hmm.
I really like um currently what I'm doing in SLAA is bottom lines and top lines. So bottom lines are like whatever I don't want to be doing anymore, but then the top lines are like the replacement. And I really like the idea of that because yeah, I think when we stop doing anything, there is like a little sort of strange grief. There is a letting go of something that was there, whether we even like the thing or not anymore.
Hmm.
But like and that's okay to feel that. It's like it's part of it to feel that. And then also like what am I gonna do instead? Um instead of like I'm not gonna rot in my misery, because that's what am I gonna do with that? So yeah, it's like what are the things that are gonna like fulfill me? And then like maintaining those in like I mean, I'm sort of crazy, I'll be like, I need to do these things twice a day and that thing. And then my sponsor will be like, calm down, just do the thing, you know,
Hmm.
regularly. But like, you know, also don't like put all your top lines into like this demanding schedule.
Yeah,
Because I'll do that too.
that's
I'll be
silly.
like, if I don't do the thing, I'm not okay.
Mm. Like
And
putting an ultimatum on yourself.
yeah, which just increases the shame, right? Because this is like, okay, if I don't go to dance class now I'm a fuck up. No,
Hmm.
because if I feel like a fuck up, then yeah, I'm probably gonna go back to the bottom lines.
Yeah. I think that's why I'm like trying not to be too hard on myself because I'm like, okay, when it happens, it'll happen, you know? And like
Yeah.
hanging out with like people in recovery, like I think it's also feeling that the which I was sharing with you, right? The like going and studying with somebody who's like also in college, but they're also clean. And it's like going and doing like normal things that I would be doing at my age, but knowing that like the person I'm with also understands me and then they're also queer and like, part of
Mhm.
the community. And so it's cool because it's like kind of that feeling that I'm like trying to get like outside, but like first doing it in like I feel like a safe space, where it's like I don't know you, you're somebody new that I've met, but you're in the program and I feel safe. Okay, this didn't go wrong, like nothing blew up in my face. Okay, see, if you go outside and try and do this in like the real world, it's like you're gonna be okay. Like you've already done it kind of once. Like go just do it with people you don't know? It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, for sure. There's like the baby steps have to be there for sure, for sure. Because like even though we know it's good, it's still like it's still new and new is still uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, like giving ourselves grace for going in baby steps. Like
Yeah.
that's the way to go and like being okay with that, I think is super important for sure. Um and then yeah, and then you get more comfortable. Once you're comfortable with that, you can push it again.
I think it's interesting because I think before like using I didn't need the baby step. It's kind of like you get high and you just go for the big for the big money. You don't gotta take that little baby step. There's no thought process. I think that's like the thing that I'm learning now. It's like, okay, you don't have your like comfort blankie. So I do need that like like I'll be okay. See, everything is fine. You're not gonna have an anxiety attack. Go and do like the bigger step. It's like that's like my my like pre-blanky. It's interesting though, because like like any of those spaces that I'm trying to go to now, like clean, I had never been to, not using. So it's like super intimidating because it's like, oh, I'm going and like actually gonna be present. Like there's no cop out.
Yeah, for sure. I know. And it's like your brain's still trying to tell you old information sometimes. like, oh my God, we can't do this. And this is too scary. And why are we even here? And and it's just kind of like you just do it anyways. And then, like you said, once you're like, oh, like, the world didn't collapse, it's almost like you're like training your brain to like have a new script, it's like
Hmm.
proving yourself wrong in a good
Yeah.
way.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there is only so much of that like we can take at a time, you know. We're
I'll do
trying to,
something like that and I'll be like drained for like 2 days. Like that was enough. That's enough for the week.
yeah, totally. It uses so much brain power because it's like there's nothing in our brains that's automatic. It's all new. It's like we're having to like pour a bunch of fuel into the train like every step. It's like, and now this and now we're nope, we're going here, and like it's like a forest path, like we're chopping shit down. It's not a path. We're creating a path, and it's like fucking exhausting, but then like it starts to get like kind of worn down when we keep doing it, and then it's like just to stroll down the road, not like creating the road.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it can kind of be like there's a for me, there's a part of me that like really wants to be dramatic though. Like I want the curtain to swing open and like here I am, and like, and almost like disappointed that I have to go in baby steps to do something,
Yeah.
like,
I think
oh,
that's
I
part of the
can't
fantasy,
believe.
right?
Yeah.
That it's
Yeah.
like there is a curtain swing and that there is some like dramatic like drop of the ball where it's like no, everybody goes through like the same pretty calm, normal interactions that lead up to probably like better feelings. You like everybody goes to like the awkwardness in the beginning. Like there's never like I think that's a lot of part of like the fantasy for me. Like I've definitely like fantasized a lot and be like, when I go to this place, this is what's gonna happen, and oh my gosh, I'm like,
Mhm.
girl, just go. You don't even know. You don't even know. It's probably gonna be so much like calmer and chill than that. And like, I don't know. I think it's interesting because I think I've caught on recently how much of my life I spent in the fantasy world thinking about that curtain opening instead of just like going and doing the things or
Yeah.
not doing them.
Right. Yeah, it reminds me of this like in there's some AA literature that talks about basically like how we pretend that we're like the director of the play, like like God or whatever,
Hmm.
but like we're like, and you stand there and we're gonna do this, and then like
Hmm.
everyone has a role, and why can't you just do what I tell you to do and everything will go smoothly? And like that's so wild to me to think of like, oh, my brain is like playing God. Like for some reason, I'm keep making myself the center of the universe, where like just because I have an idea, that is how things are supposed to be. Like when everyone's walking around with their own ideas of how things are supposed to be, like they're not little fucking sock puppets in my play, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
I do love that that's in the recovery literature because it's like, oh, okay, we're all going around playing God. I'm not alone in doing that.
You're definitely not.
Yeah. And just to be able to, like you were saying, like being able to like kind of like take a pause in between stuff. Um, like it's like that's almost letting somebody else be in charge of directing the play, you
Hmm.
know? Like, oh yeah, all this stuff I'm putting on my expectation plate in my head, it's not even like really real. I'm not even really in charge of all that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's interesting because it like manifests in like even like little things. Before, like before I was in recovery, like in the rooms, I never would like go in other people's cars. Like I always had to be the one driving.
Mm.
It's like I had to be the one that was like when we get there, when we leave, like in just literally in control. Like I hated handing it over to anybody else. And like now in recovery, I'm like, oh, who's driving me? I can just be free and like let go and like mind my business and it's okay. Like I would get a lot of anxiety in the beginning. Like in the beginning of coming to the rooms, like I still couldn't do it. And I'm like, it's silly how like even in little things like that, it comes out. Like the simplest of things, like who drives the car?
Oh my God, I forgot about that when you were like, why are you driving us on the
Yeah, to
trip?
Palm Springs. It
You're
like
like,
genuinely gave me anxiety.
you're like freaking out.
Hmm.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
And now I'm in like Iggy's car.
Now you're like, where are we going?
It's just like doing crazy turns and stuff. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, which is such a good like analogy of
Hmm.
like letting other people like take show us a new direction, like being able to go in a new direction and being like, hey, that was kind of cool, or I kind of like that, or at least like the world didn't fall apart.
Yeah. It's less stressful. I realize that I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry about like where we're going or what's happening. Like I can literally just like chill and play music and enjoy the moment. I'm like, wow, who would have thought if we just let somebody else take the wheel for a second, we'd all be okay. Like it's really that simple. And then I hate when I like realize those things. So I'm like, not the cliches clicking.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. And it's the delusional part. The funniest part is that we think that somehow we would have done everything better than anyone else,
Yeah, we probably did it worse.
right? Like who's gonna say I wouldn't have crashed the car? You know what I mean? It's like I'm just as likely as anybody else, you know? So it's I guess that's the humility of being like, and it doesn't even have to be like I'm wrong and you're right, but like, hey, we can both be right, and it's actually more fun to like explore it your way than to always be stuck in my own, you
Hmm.
know?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the journey just keeps on going.
There's so much.
But that's, there can be fear around that, but excitement too. We never is, yeah, it's scary letting somebody else turn the wheel or letting even ourselves turn a wheel in a direction we're not used to going. But
Mhm.
that's kind of like, that is where the excitement comes in, you know? You don't really, I feel like we learn that we need drama a lot less when we realize how much like change and excitement actually happens in recovery.
That's true. I've definitely started to see that more. I'm like, huh, I'm not in anybody's problems, or I'm not causing any problems, and stuff is still happening. Like, like, whoa. And it may be like very I call it like the part of like adulting for me, like little things, where I'm like, wow, I'm broke right now, but I'm also getting out of debt. Crazy. Like,
Hmm.
like accepting like little things like that are like, oh, okay, I'm not in a relationship and I might not be doing all the things that I said I would be doing as soon as I got out of a relationship. Like, I convinced myself, I was like, wow, you have all this free time. You're gonna learn the piano, you're gonna learn how to play the guitar, you're gonna learn a new language. Like if I
Mhm.
was gonna have like billion of hours like added on to my day all of a sudden, where it's
Mhm.
like, no, I'm actually just organizing my days a lot better now and probably giving myself adequate time to like relax. It's like, I don't know, it's like the realizing like I don't have to take out something to then like fill that up with like crazy amounts of things. Like maybe you just take something out, the chaos, and you just leave it like that and allow it to fill in naturally. What? Crazy.
Yeah. And I feel like we fill it in with a lot of internal work. Like we may not seem so busy or productive, but we're like taking care of ourselves. We're like taking an inventory of what we're feeling. We're like sitting in quiet solitude. Like there's so much background to working a recovery program, and it all is laying the foundation for whatever else does come up,
Yeah.
you know? And that's talking about security. That's the ultimate security, of like having security in ourselves. Like it starts to matter less what's happening on the outside because we trust ourselves
Hmm.
to handle whatever it is.
Yeah. I think I still struggle with that in the sense of like, um, I think that's where I struggle most with um my clean time. Cause like I was talking about it recently where I was like I want to stay clean and like I'm putting in the work, but it's like scary to me because if like a switch flips in my head immediately like nothing matters and like I will like throw everything out the window and like isolate. So it's like finding that security in myself is so hard because I'm like, I'm the same person that like ruins it. Like it's me, like it's all me. But like that's what I think is interesting, like working the step, right? Or like step one when it was like, okay, or step two being like, okay, this is your addict self and this is you, and like accepting that part of you and like talking to it. Like when you told me to do that step work, I was like, what? I don't understand this. I was like, how am I supposed to apply this? And I see it. Like today when I like texted someone I wasn't supposed to text. I thought about that and I took that moment. And that's the part that scares me because I was still like, we're gonna give in to that part of me, you know? So I'm like, I'm in the process of like, how do I acknowledge it, accept it, feel that feeling, but not give into it? Like I
Yeah.
struggle.
And I think that's all like the practice stuff, and those are all the little changes and all the little awakenings, and things fall off as they fall off, you know. It's all in the journey. But like you take a skill you learn for one thing, and then learning how to apply it for something else, and then it just keeps moving on in that way.
Hmm.
And then we become more and more secure when we do that, like the acceptance, when I'm secure, I become more secure in me. I need to act out less because I don't have to fulfill that need in other places. But
Yeah.
it's not like the curtain, right now I'm this person, I can do it. Yay. It's like, oh, I tried it. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, I'll try again tomorrow. I'm all right today, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Today too, or when was it? It was yesterday. I just want to bring this up. Yesterday, there's this girl who's like been in and out of the rooms. Um, and when like the first time she went to a meeting, I was talking to her. I gave her my number. She disappears, and then she'll like come back. She'll be like, "Oh, like Ariana, like, do you know a meeting? Do you know this and this and that?" And like, she texts. I hadn't heard from her. I hadn't heard from her in months. I was every time like we do like the prayer like circle, I always pray for her because I'm like I don't know where she like since she was really she was going through it. So I was like, oh, I just hope she's okay. Like I hope she's okay. And I'll text her. Like I text her like almost like every month, being like, hey, thinking about you. Hope you're doing good. Like just know if you ever need help, like I'm here. She wouldn't respond. But I was like, you know what? Like I get that. Like, if you don't want to be in it, you like leave me alone.
Hmm.
She texted me yesterday. I was having a night, and then she texted me. She was like, "Hey, Ariana, like, do you know any meetings tomorrow?" I was like, "Oh, you're alive. You're alive and you're okay." I don't know. It made me feel better, like about the like even though I have a little bit of clean time right now, I'm like, okay, I've still like kept coming back and I've still maintained a certain place in like the meetings where I'm able to like help her be like, hey, I get you. I understand completely where you're coming from. Like me too. I think the only difference is like I haven't left the rooms versus like her who has, and that's okay. Everyone's journey is different. But I'm like, it made me feel so warm. I was like, oh, yes, I will guide you. Like it's okay. Come back. No, no judgment, like you're good. Like you're okay. I don't know. I was like, that helped. And I'm just happy she's okay.
Yeah, it's wild. I think, like applying the way we treat others to ourselves, you know? Like like something I would tell you, I need to tell myself those things.
Hmm.
Like it's okay. It's all good. You're loved. Telling myself that, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was telling her it and I'm like, you're in the same position. Like I'm genuinely in the same position. It's just I'm more in the circle, which I think is like sometimes convinces me that that's like scarier because there's like some people looking, but I'm like trying to remind myself that it's not scarier. It's like, if anything, it's like I'm grateful that I have that many people looking and that I have that many people who love me and care for me to continue to reach out and like bug me, you know? Like
Yeah.
not everybody has that. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, the the group is the security a lot of the times while we're building our own inside, I
Yeah.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
Well, that was some good shit.
Forget finance, though. We don't know anything about finance.
Yeah, finance to be continued. But also I think we nailed down like a lot of, well, finance and how it has to do with like it's really about security and
Mm-hmm.
that, and it can't, in many ways that can be the aspect of the romantic part too, but how much just general insecurity, like we need to address that over anything else
Mm-hmm.
because it can come out in all those different areas.
Yeah.
And that's done with the tools we learn in the program. No amount of money or who we're with really solves that anyways.
It's true. Just adds more layers to it.
Yeah. Well, cool. I appreciate you joining. I was going to say us, but really me today.
We're missing who, Mark?
Yeah.
Come on, Mark. Where are you?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Where you at? Um, and I'm sure he'll enjoy watching this later. And for anyone else watching or listening, if you found anything we talked about or brought up, helpful, or maybe you want to share it with somebody else, you know, Life in Recovery is on YouTube and will be on some podcast streaming services shortly. So thanks for listening.
Mm, thanks for listening.
Bye.
All information and other content supplied or communicated in or through this video is for general informational purposes only and does not or nor is intended to constitute legal or medical advice. Any viewer of this video should contact his or her own attorney, doctor, or other applicable advisor or practitioner to obtain legal, medical, or other applicable advice with respect to the accuracy, reliability, or potential application to such viewer of any matter discussed or portrayed in this video. Please do not act or refrain from acting in any way based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through this video. The views expressed during this video are those of the individual presenters only and not those of Choice Recovery Path LLC PLC or any of its customers, suppliers, or affiliates. Any liability with respect to actions taken or not taken by any viewer based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through such video is hereby expressly disclaimed. All such information or content is expressly provided as is and free of any representation or warranty of any kind.